everybody, it's Shaman Sister Sin, and you're listening to the Meditations and More podcast. I'm the Little Shaman. Today I want to talk to you about how to tell the difference between a narcissist and a psychopath in your life. Now, as listeners of my show know, psychopaths are end-stage narcissists, so there are a lot of similarities between them and other types of narcissists. There are some differences too, so here's a short list of questions you can answer and try to make the distinction. You should be warned though that there are narcissists who have psychopathic tendencies, but they're not full-blown psychopaths, so it can be a little tricky. Number 1, does this person become overly emotional, throw tantrums, or become hysterical? Most of the time, you will not see a psychopath act that way. They don't have access to the type of emotion that is required to become upset enough to throw a tantrum. They don't get upset, they don't have meltdowns, they don't have fits when they can't get what they want. Psychopaths, in contrast to most types of narcissists, often seem to have no emotion at all. They don't react to things the way they should, and they may be deliberately cruel or inappropriate. Narcissists can be that way too, but they have a serious problem with understanding how they appear to other people, so it may or may not be deliberate. With psychopaths, you can believe that it is. Number 2, does this person seem unable to understand emotions or why people react emotionally? Most narcissists do have issues in this area, but non-psychopathic narcissists at least understand what emotions are and how they work, even if they don't care or recognize them in other people. They know why people get upset, and they know what getting upset is. Psychopaths, on the other hand, have no actual understanding of emotions at all. Like other types of narcissists, psychopaths have no emotions for anyone else, but unlike other types of narcissists, they have no emotions for themselves. They just have no emotions, period. They don't understand anything about how normal people react to things either. Multiple studies have shown that psychopaths literally don't even recognize emotions when they see them. They don't recognize fear or distress in other people's faces, and they cannot read emotion in other people's eyes. I remember reading about one test where a psychopathic inmate was being shown pictures of people's faces with different expressions on them. When he was shown somebody with a fearful face, he said, "I don't know what you call this emotion, but it's what people look like just before you stab them." Another example would be an interview with the serial killer John Wayne Gacy that was conducted by FBI profiler Robert Ressler. Gacy tried to claim, of course, that he was not responsible for any of the 30-plus bodies found buried in his crawl space and around his property. He stated that someone else killed these young boys and that he had even seen one. His story was that a guy who stayed with him had one of the victims over at the house, and the next time Gacy saw the victim was dead. He was asked what he did next, and he said that he went to bed because there was nothing he could do about it. Notice the total lack of understanding regarding how most people would react here. Most people who saw a dead body in their house would flip out. They would become upset, they would call the police, they would try to find out what happened. There would be a huge problem. Gacy felt that it would be considered a normal reaction to say that he simply just went to bed and left a dead body laying there on the floor in his home. No trying to help, no trying to figure out what happened, no becoming upset. His attitude seemed to be that it wasn't his problem. The fact that someone died, that a young life was actually lost, had zero impact on him whatsoever, and he seemed to believe that that's how anybody would react. Total disconnection to human emotion here, a complete lack of understanding of how to even fake a normal reaction. If you spend enough time around a psychopath, you will eventually notice things like that because though they might be a very clever mimic, that's all they are. They know the words, not the music, in other words. Number 3, does this person seem to have clouded perception or come across as delusional? Most types of narcissists see everything through the veil of emotion. Feelings are facts to most narcissists. Emotions cloud their perception, and this is what leads them to accuse people of things that didn't happen or of having motives they don't have and feelings that they don't feel and things like that. They may, in fact, perceive things so differently from everyone else that they can seem delusional to other people. Psychopaths do not have this problem. They are not delusional, and they do not appear delusional. Their perception is not clouded by emotion or anything else. They are actually often rational and analytical to the point of seeming robotic because they are unable to comprehend any emotional values or aspects in a situation. For example, a psychopath who attends a funeral may behave in ways that other people find inappropriate. They might make jokes or talk about the money that it's all costing. They don't understand what the fuss is about, and they don't understand why it's perceived as cruel or odd to say things like that. To them, it's just business. Number 4, does this person seem disordered or crazy? Psychopaths in general do not appear crazy. They don't even seem abnormal most of the time until you get to know them and you realize how empty and emotionless they really are. Many narcissists seem disordered almost from the moment you meet them. They might behave bizarrely, they may tell outrageous lies, have really exaggerated mannerisms or facial expressions. You especially see that with histrionic personality disorder. They might seem overly friendly, overly attached, like you would see in borderline personality disorder. They might seem to misunderstand things that are being said to them. They might seem overly reactionary, jealous, angry, or just plain odd. You might get a vibe from them that's really off-putting and causes you to dislike them for what seems like no reason. They might seem really intense and say things that seem a little weird or that are inappropriate. Psychopaths in general don't fall into that type of behavior. The more psychopathic a narcissist is, the less disordered or crazy they're going to seem. All of the confused emotions and conflicts that cause these kind of behaviors fall away the further down the narcissistic spectrum a person is. Number 5, does this person seem to have no fear? Narcissists in general, as a rule, are pretty fearful people on the inside. They fear abandonment, they fear rejection, they fear being found out as a fake, they fear many things. Psychopaths feel no fear at all. They don't fear consequences, they don't fear rejection, they don't fear injury, they fear nothing. They just don't react. They intellectually understand consequences, but they are not afraid of them. They will try to avoid consequences, but it's not out of fear. It's so that they can continue to do what they want without interruption. If they do get caught, there's still usually no reaction. There might be a primitive outburst of rage, but it generally will not last, and it's not the same as the tantrum type of behavior you see from other types of narcissists. It's more likely that there will be smooth denials, rationalizations, and logical explanations of why they aren't actually guilty. We see this with politicians all the time. Like other types of narcissists, when proof is introduced into the situation, they will continue to lie. However, the emotional explosions you often see with other types of narcissists when they're caught probably will not happen. Not only do psychopaths not understand that type of emotion, they're not going to lower themselves to behave that way. Number 6, does this person seem very calculated? It's safe to say that virtually all types of narcissists are manipulative and vengeful after a fashion, but they're not always especially calculated. They're often too emotional and impulsive to create long-term plans and wait, and they can't always appreciate consequences. If the person you're dealing with seems very calculated and very patient, if the plan they have made anticipates consequences, they might be psychopathic. For example, most narcissists will exact revenge on somebody as immediately as possible. Psychopaths can wait a long time for that, sometimes years. They never forget, they never move on, and they never lose focus. They can wait. When they're younger, psychopaths can sometimes be impulsive, and as adults, sometimes less organized psychopaths can be as well. But generally, if you're looking at a sophisticated level of calculation, you are probably looking at a psychopath. There are stories of psychopaths behaving in a manner that implies calculation and planning even at the age of 2 years old, when it technically shouldn't even be possible. Number 7, is this person a really good liar? Most narcissists lie. They lie for many reasons and for no reason. They aren't always that great of a liar, though. They may forget the lies they've told or change their story repeatedly. They don't always sound all that convincing, and they sometimes overlook glaring holes in their story. Psychopaths, by contrast, are usually excellent liars. They rarely miss a step. They don't get flustered by emotions, therefore their mind is like a machine, like a computer. They are often successful con artists, master manipulators, and very skillful negotiators. They can create entire backstories and live that image to the letter without ever making a mistake. Other types of narcissists create false personas too, but they generally do that in defense against pathological self-hatred, and the mask is very flimsy, consequently. Psychopaths usually do it to con other people, and their performance is often flawless. They don't have a problem with self-hatred or any other emotion for that matter, so nothing cracks it. All types of narcissists are driven by reward-based motivations. This is why consequences don't work on them. They are focused on success, not why they didn't succeed or what happened when they were caught doing something wrong. This is why repeated negative consequences like going to jail or getting fired don't dissuade them from continuing their behavior. Another reason that negative consequences don't work may be what one study showed. One study showed that psychopaths' brains release 4 times more dopamine than non-psychopathic people. In a way, because of the way dopamine works with addiction and creates pathways in the brain, we could say that they are literally addicted to getting what they want. And because there's so much overlap between psychopathy and, quote, regular narcissism, it's likely that all narcissists' brains work in a similar way. As psychopaths have no emotions to trip them up or get in the way, it may be that their pursuit of reward is more focused and direct than other types of narcissists. They are able to scheme and plot and plan their way to what they want much more easily than other types of narcissists because in a very real way, there's nothing stopping them. So there you go. 7 questions you can ask yourself to help determine if you are dealing with a psychopath or another type of narcissist. In the end, the differentiation isn't all that important. Once an abusive person has been identified in your life, the most important thing is to respect yourself and get away from the abuse. I hope this clears a few things up for you. As always, I look forward to your comments, questions, and suggestions. So go ahead and post those below. You've been listening to the Meditations and More podcasts brought to you by the Little Shaman. That's me. May the Great Spirit bless you and have a wonderful narcissist and psychopath-free day.